Patreon Q&A number 97. I want to thank all 130 of my incredible patrons. Guys, thank you so much for continuing to support me the way that you have. To everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers for all of the series I'm going to be talking about, so tread carefully. Lindu K asks, "Hey Z, love the content as always. Keep it up. So excited for the next chapter to come out." I know, me too. Hopefully they can get back on a consistent release schedules, eventually. My question for this week is, do you think the prophecy which led Boros on his 20-year journey to Earth was talking about blasts at Saitama? So this is a great question, and I've been asked this consistently since I think I started this game, honestly. And, I do think that the Boros prophecy might be more integral to the story than what we initially thought. Like, I don't think it's just some kind of throwaway thing, or at least entirely. I mean, there's like a percentage chance, but this all depends on how powerful God is, because I don't think it was Blast that the prophecy was talking about, but more so God, the guy that gave Homeless Emperor his powers, the guy that has been subject of discussion lately since, chapter 132 came out. Because if this Esper stuff that exists within the One Punch Man world, if it is relative to the universe as a whole, like if it's not just indigenous to Earth, then I guess that everyone is kind of psychically linked into this Esper third eye thing that Shibawa and Psychos was able to tap into, meaning that alien seer that Boros, went to, he was just a super powerful Esper, and they all kind of share the same thing, regardless of the distance between them, because they're kind of going into another dimension, so it doesn't matter if it's light years or whatever, I assume. So... And also, another thing we see in chapter 132, God appears to be like that orb, that Earth, the planet-like thing, and it's in the cosmos and everything. So that could be giving more insight into maybe this is a cosmic thing. And I'm thinking that maybe the alien seer just was like, oh, wow, there's this super powerful dude that just, 20 million light years or however far away it was, down the turnpike on this planet called Earth, there's this crazy being there that will definitely give you a challenge, Boros. He's probably disaster level God, since his name's God after all. And I'm thinking that's what Boros went after, listening to the seer. And then when he got there, obviously he ran into Saitama, got dominated, and he was like, it was a lie. This wasn't a close fight at all. So maybe that also kind of means that maybe Boros could have, I don't know, competed against God. Not saying he could have defeated him, but you know what I mean. Maybe it wouldn't have been as one-sided as his fight against Saitama was, possibly. But I don't think it was Blast. That would be cool if it was Blast, but I think more so this is all pointing towards God being connected to everything. Beowolf asks, first matchup between Sweet Mass, normal power, or partial transformation against the strongest demon in your opinion, Bug God, full power. So considering that, even without going into partial transformation or anything, my mask was said to be on par with Black S. I guess that means strength, speed, durability, whatever. And that's dragon for sure level power. So I assume that my mask would probably be able to take down transformed Bug God mid-diff, maybe. I don't think he would really struggle that much. Yeah, he does have great durability, and obviously we saw how Garo went against him post, chapter 84, but I'm still pretty confident my mask would be able to take him out, without going to high difficulty or anything, and not even have to go into his monster form. That brings us to the second question. The Carnage Kabuto against Monster Mind Mask. Difficult to say, because both of these guys kind of exist in their own little vacuums of power, because we never really see Carnage Kabuto go against Darkshine. We only hear that Darkshine had to high diff him. And then, the clown monster, how strong was he truly? Was he a high dragon? Was he a mid dragon? Regardless, I still, going over my video, I thought of my mask in his monster form was pretty much through and through a high dragon. So this would be competitive, I suppose, and it's so difficult to say who would definitively win. But if I had to bet on it, I'd just put my money on a my mask because of recency bias, I guess. Brandon M asks, yo, what's up, Shonen? So I think it's fun to think about this one. Imagine the problems Gohan had at DBZ after coming out of the spirit room as a Super Saiyan, crushing things on accident because of the overwhelming strength. What do you think would be some more daily problems you would have with this much power? So this is a good question, and it kind of brings up a lot of the slippery slopes that Dragon Ball causes when it does things like this. Now, also, I know that this is Dragon Ball Z, guys. I'm not, like, trying to, like, say that it's Breaking Bad and that it needs to have, like, this awesome continuity and everything needs to make sense. But, like, if you're going to introduce this whole element of Gohan or just whoever being so powerful that everyday things become, like, destruction pretty much, then you're going to have to consistently do that for everything else. One of the main problems that I see coming from this, aside from, like, continuity and all that, is that the speed at which of these characters move, let alone their strength, that's a whole nother thing, but just them moving at their speed, like Gohan going on, I don't know, errands for Chi-Chi or whatever stupid stuff she has them doing. I hate Chi-Chi. She's the worst character in anime, manga, whatever. But, like, them moving at those insane, like, ask any Dragon Ball power scale. I'm sure they're going to say light speed or whatever. I don't care. But if you're, like, moving just super 20 times Mach or whatever, you're going to, like, create, like, little mini tornadoes or hurricanes or whatever at the minimum in the wake of your movements. I mean, if you are, like, moving even faster than that, you're just going to, like, wind up destroying things because what that would cause, like, if it was literally to happen in our world. Chase C asks, hey there Z, love the videos, great job always maintaining consistent uploads despite the personal and professional difficulties. I know putting up a face on work's not always easy to do. Hey, thank you, Chase, I appreciate that. My scenarios this week: Goketsu breaks into the USJ instead of going to the tournament. How would this encounter go from start to finish? Instead of the Nomu Shigaraki pair. So pretty similar. I assumed that once Goketsu got in there, he would start offering everyone monster cells, and absolutely everyone would deny him because they're all morally pretty sound characters. And then I guess it depends on how much patience Goketsu has at that point, because if they try to attack him, he's just going to destroy them. And any advantage that Aizawa had is gone because, Goketsu doesn't have a quirk. And Aizawa was kind of carrying that whole team on his back before All Might showed up. So it's not looking good for any of them because I'm sure Goketsu could kill anyone there with a single punch probably. And his speed it would pretty much look just like the USJ Nomu's speed. Time has stopped and they can't even comprehend him moving. So it's, it depends on how fast All Might is going to show up to how many casualties there's going to be here. And when All Might does show up, well, that's an answer for another time because I have this video coming out. Eventually, I'm waiting on some special artwork to be done for it, but I'm going to be doing All Might versus all of the cadres, so look out for that. Christoper C asks, hey Shonen, watch your videos daily, you're the best. Hey, thank you, Christopher, I appreciate that. My question is, will we ever get a face reveal or maybe a video while you talk in front of a green screen? Thanks, hope we get to know you a bit more. So you're in luck, Chris, because it's happening soon, like this year. I'm going to do it. I'm going to shift the channel to a different direction, and it's just going to be like, like videos like a normal YouTuber, not just commentating over pictures and stuff. I'm in the process of it getting done now. Cool Mitch 987 asks, Sup Z, hope you had a good week. Hey, I did. Cool Mitch, I hope you did too. Do you think Blaster Blue could possibly have Esper or telekinetic abilities as an extension of their energy manipulation in the same way that Psychos can use energy to fire lasers as an extension of her Esper abilities? Yeah, I do think that it's possible that these abilities are somehow connected, or maybe one of them are like an offshoot of the other or something. Kind of think about it like the other path to power in the One Punch Man world, or one of the other path to power, like physical growth, like attaining muscle mass and gaining more power that way. Like, how like Darkshine's like, my training is different than Puri Prisoner and Tank Top Master. So whatever that means, like I talked about it in my Darkshine theory video, but it could be something like that. Like you can become physically strong and then you can gain the abilities of Darkshine, or you can gain the abilities of Tank Top Master. And I think it's the same thing with like Esper stuff. Like maybe instead of like fully becoming like telekinetic with your Esper abilities, maybe you can just internalize your energy and use it that way possibly. And if that's not the case, I still do think it's a possibility that there's some kind of Esper abilities to blast as well, because there's got to be something to Murata and 1 showing us Psychos fire off these eye lasers and the whole connection to it saying that he can do it in the data book. So there's got to be something there. Crusader Deus Vult asks, Deus Vult, Z-Man, the Lord of all. How goes your week, my lord? I'm on a diet and it's not terrible, but I miss good food. I must get swole like you, my lord. Hey, well then you got to keep grinding if you want to get on my level, and I know that you can get there. First question is, what kind of metal do you think Kaido and his daughter's clubs are made out of? It's really strong metal. Are they so strong that they can have one-shot Luffy with a single punch? So, this is a good question. I mean, it's not made of sea stone. Or at least I'm pretty sure it's not made of sea stone. But, I mean, they don't really touch on that too much. But I do remember at the end of Dressrosa, Koala says something about, like, liquid iron ore... Or depending, or drunken iron ore, depending on the translation that you got, which was implied that it was like a super powerful or different type of like metal or something that was used in the weapons that they had at Dressrosa and stuff, and they were trying to figure out where it came from. And as far as I know, that storyline kind of went nowhere, and I assumed that it was coming from Wano, or maybe they're going to reveal that later, but if it is made of anything special, it's probably made of that drunken ore or the liquid iron ore or something. My second question is, do you think Flash could defeat Drive Knight? Well, at this point, it's really hard to say because we haven't seen Drive Knight at his full power, and he was already exceptionally powerful when he was defeating Neon, which, I theorize is, only just the beginning, maybe 70% of what he could possibly do. If he is entirely based off of shogi pieces, we have yet to see like the highest grade of shogi piece yet in connection to his power-ups. So right now, what we have seen of him when he was fighting Neon, I don't see why Flash wouldn't be able to defeat him, but at full power, it's probably a different story. Daren asks, hey man, hope everything is going well. Hey, it is, Daren. I hope it is for you too. My question is, if Toga was a member of Class 1A, what would her rank be in terms of combat ability? So Toga's power, it varies throughout the series. She's kind of weak sometimes, and sometimes she's really exceptionally powerful, deceivingly powerful. So if we're talking about like modern manga, Toga, like, the last, 60 chapters or so, she would definitely be probably in the top 5 or 6 of Class 1A at that point, simply just because she's so skilled, like so much more skilled than they are. Which is kind of funny because she didn't go to, a school dedicated to heroism like they were. But her quirk, still isn't as good as their quirks. So I still don't see her, like, overcoming, like, Tokoyami and the big 3, of course. But maybe, just maybe, she could overcome, like, Tsuyu possibly. But, like, Tsuyu's quirk is so much better than Toga's. So, I'm not saying Toga's quirk is bad. It's great, but you know what I mean. Comparing to these quirks that are just so unbelievably powerful. I think it's fair to say top 5, top 6. Dino W asks, for my first question this week, I wanted to know who you think would win a fight between Holly Holm and Amanda Nunes. So they actually fought last year. And I think Nunes finished her in the first round. Yeah, she like starched her with a head kick. It pretty much went down as I expected. Holly Holm, she is a good fighter, of course, but she peaked in like 2016, 2017. So even if they were to have a rematch, I don't think it would really go any different. Second question, if Moon Rider was given one for all with vague instructions on how to use it right before his fight with Deep Sea King, what would happen? So, I mean, he's going to use 100% without understanding that he's using 100%. So he's going to hit Deep Sea King with like, full cowling 100% punch, which Izuku says is just as powerful as All Might. Whatever that means. But if it's not going to kill Deep Sea King, then it's going to hurt him for sure. Maybe knock him out or just, blast him through a couple buildings or something. And then, Movement Rider's arm is completely done at that point. But that's not going to stop Movement Rider. He is a complete psycho and he will push through that. But if Deep Sea King can get up after 100% punch, then I guess Moon Rider would just hit him with his other arm, and then I guess that would take him out at that point. Free-Tshirts asks, Yo, Shona, what do you think Monaco's role will be during the Neo Heroes arc? So this is a good question, and I'm not sure. I guess she's going to be included in the little gang that Saitama has forming with, like, Black S and Overgrown Rover, like the little mini monster gang. And I do think there's some importance to her revealing that she is a she. I mean, there's no reason why they wouldn't say that, unless that's like Murata's little added thing to it just to make it a more quirky character, I guess. I mean, there's also like the whole thing about maybe monsterification is going to be reversed at some point in the series. Like maybe somebody develops it, like Dr. Genus or Child Emperor. I don't know, somebody like that possibly. And then we'll see like what Monaka looks like as a female human. I don't know, but I don't think Monaka is going to have like a big role in the Neo Heroes arc other than just like, you know, little comedy added to Black S and Overgrown Rover shenanigans. And maybe Black S recruits Monaka to be like, you know, like his henchman to help him with his goal of becoming powerful once again. So maybe that's what Monaco's role is, just a henchman for Black S possibly. But other than that, if she does have some kind of bigger purpose to the story, it'll probably happen after the Neos Heroes arc. GardenShed asks, hey Leo Z, in the revisions for the Child Emperor versus Phoenix Man fight, Phoenix Man seemingly wanted to convert Child Emperor and Watchdog Man into costume monsters like him. Child Emperor had merged with Brave Giant and Watchdog Man with his suit to become monsters. How powerful do you think they'd be? So, as we've seen so far, it seems like merging with your suit like gives you like an access to crazy powers that everyone else doesn't have, because we've seen the pesky clown. He's the other example of a monster who merged with their suit, at least according to My Mask. And he had access to powers that no one else did, you know, with the 3 balloon popping, the attention giving him more power-ups, essentially being immortal, I guess, being able to survive 3 consecutive deaths, and then, you know, the perpetual growth that he had from the more attention. And yeah, I know that was the perfect environment that My Mask set up for him, but I think maybe one was trying to say is that if you can go through monsterification just not by yourself, if you can merge with something, then you become more powerful. So I think the same thing would happen with Child Emperor. Like maybe he would gain access to more abilities that others don't have, and of course he would have a crazy power up just simply from transforming into a monster, as what happens. But with Watchdog Man, what if it's a possibility that he already merged with his suit and he's already a monster? Geruda asks, hey Shonen, do you think Mineta will grow out of his kid body and get a big power boost? His quirk is criminally underrated and combined with martial arts, I think he could be crazy. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you, Geruda. So it all depends on if we're going to get a time skip or not. Because if we do get a time skip, then I think it's possible we might see Mineta go through like a growth spurt. And he might be like the tallest member of the class. That would be pretty cool. And it is, that stuff like that does happen. I remember, you know, when I was in middle school, there was like a kid who was short, and then like over summer, he was like the tallest kid in class. So that would be pretty interesting if that happened with Mineta. And I do think Mineta has a bright future in the story, you know, as long as Horikoshi tones back on his demeanor, because that can become problematic and a little exhausting over time. Like, I'm feeling that with Sanji right now in One Piece. It's like, I wish he just wasn't like so simply all the time. But yeah, I do think Mineta will get a power boost. Debatable if he'll grow out of his body. Joseph K asks, my question this week is, do you think Garo actually wanted world peace the entire time? Yes, I do. And I'm going to make an entire video dedicated to this because it needs it. It's very important. And also, I understand the gripes that you have with this sequence. Dude, I totally understand it. But we also have to understand this is the webcomic, of course, and it's very rough. Like, especially during this time, it was weird. Like, there's so much slop. And not in a bad way. I mean, it's the webcomic after all. But a lot of stuff is really sloppy in this arc. And yes, he was still learning, he was still getting better, he was still progressing, but not just the sequences become sloppy, but the dialogue becomes sloppy too. That's why, you know, we get such a big improved product with the manga, and especially now since you've seen him come back from hiatus, the webcomic is like a completely different story. It looks like it's made by a completely different person compared to what we've seen, you know, years before. So I think that's why you have some issues with this sequence, but I do totally believe that was always Garo's goal, to have world peace by everyone uniting against him. This is actually kind of what happens in The Watchmen, both in the graphic novel and the movie. They both have different endings, but it's more so kind of, you know, the same narrative. Humanity uniting together against one common enemy. And, I mean, it's essentially all coming down to Garo just wanting there to no longer be bullies in the world, so I guess that was his master plan, which is, I mean, it's not too bad, but, you know, in the end, when you're trying to create this weird dystopian future, you're going to have problems regardless. L asks, I'm playing devil's advocate here because, you know, I think that Drive Knight is a defector and not the leader of the organization. So Drive Knight reckons at the Monster Association base, did he learn the Zenkai boost training and is going to use the method to create stronger level monsters that he can control in the future chapters? If not, what future gains did he make on behalf of the organization when he was missing in action? Take care. So the only way that he would know about the Zenkai boost stuff is if G5 or he personally spoke with Psychos, which we don't see. Now, of course, it's possible we're just going to get a random flashback where G5 talks to Psychos or Geruda and she spills the beans, which doesn't seem likely. And then the only other person that knows about it besides her is Garo and Phoenix Man, and then I guess Orochi by proxy. So then also it would be like Phoenix Man would have had to talk to G5 or Drive Knight, which I don't think happened either. So it's unlikely that Drive Knight is in possession of this information, although it's not impossible. Like I said, we could just be retconned and now he knows it because, I don't know, he just found out at that point. But regardless, whether he knows this or not, the gains that he made was just accumulating data because that's all the organization wants. That's why they sent G5 down there to get all of the data, which he did because that's how Drive Knight knew about all of the cadres and everything. You know, when he was telling Genos in the, I forget which, 120 or 121, somewhere around there. That's all he wants. So yeah, the future gains was him getting all of the information that allowed him to make the organization stronger as a result of that. Legandaryus asks, hey Shonen, do you think when Luffy becomes an emperor that he will protect the island and his friends are on, since Boa will need new protection since the warlord system was removed and she can't protect her island alone? Luffy could also do it for Fishman Island and any other place he wishes to have the Straw Hat Fleet protect the islands. Barto will love that. Yes, he would. So absolutely, this will happen for sure. But as for Boa, it's a little too late for her because she's already being, sought after by Kobe, and I forget who else is with him. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Boa storyline at this point. It's not looking good for her and all of the other warlords except Mihawk. Of course, he can handle himself. But absolutely, Luffy will protect everyone, essentially, once he becomes the Pirate King, because he even says, you know, I'm going to make Fishman Island my territory, when he's, like, starting his beef with Big Mom. And then he also gave, a piece of his Viver card to all of the Grand Fleet, in case they needed help from him or something. So, yeah, absolutely, when Luffy becomes the Pirate King, he will have even a greater impact of protection over the world than like Whitebeard did. Mr.Awsome asks, first question this week has to do with Tank Top Army and the My Hero verse. Assuming that Master would start his own hero agency, how would the army compete to the other high-end agencies? You know what, this is a good scenario because Tank Top Master and the Tank Top crew would totally fit right into the My Hero world. Like they're goofy enough to make sense in that world. And, he would be called the Tank Top Hero. And his quirk would probably just be super strength or something like Death Arm's quirk. But they would be just fine. I don't think they would be the top agency because it's really hard to surpass Endeavor, considering he's a perfectionist and he has such a high case resolved rate and all that stuff, which Tank Top Master definitely ain't going to have. He would be more lackadaisical, and it would be more like a cult, of course, because of how it is right now, rather than a hero agency. But he would be fine. He would be good. If there was like a top 10 hero agencies, I think he would definitely be in it, considering how powerful he is and considering how devoted his following is. Second question is, what do you think the possibilities of One Punch Man's cinematic universe are, and how would you lay out phase 1? So I don't think there's a good possibility for the cinematic universe to happen for One Punch Man. The only way that would happen is if the One Punch Man live action movie, if it's still coming out, that is, a lot of things have changed and we got info on that before all of the COVID stuff. But if that's like a massive smash hit, like over 1 billion at the box office, then we'll get maybe a cinematic universe with it. But if we did, I'm not even sure if it would be necessary, because it's kind of like a story that doesn't need to branch out that much. I mean, it can, of course, but if it did, we would also need access to information that we don't currently have in the series. Like, Genos would probably be one of the characters that would have a standalone movie, meaning that we would have to see Genos' past for the story to be compelling, which we haven't seen before. And then we'd run into issues like that with any other character that would have a solo movie. So that's what I mean. It wouldn't really need to be, like, spread out, other than it just having like One Punch Man 1, One Punch Man 2, and One Punch Man 3. You know what I mean? Mr. Toby 1018 asks, Shonen, my boy, how's your summer? It's a COVID summer. It can only be so good, but it could be worse. If Suiko manages to defeat the dragon she's currently up against, how do you think she'd fare against monsterized Bakuzan? I assume that G6 or the Mira God guy, he's got to be stronger than Bakuzan. If he's not, then we have a new lowest common denominator for dragons. But I think if she could defeat G6, then she could definitely defeat Bakusan. We're just going to have to see how powerful she becomes, because we're just theorizing at this point. Maybe she gets dominated and we're wrong, but I do think that we're going to see her full potential, and it's probably greater than that of monsterized Bakusan. Who do you think will end up defeating Black S once he returns? I always kind of felt like it was going to be a group effort. Like, in my headcanon, I see maybe the Neo Heroes and the Hero Association coming together to defeat whatever Black S becomes, Platinum S, Diamond S, whatever. Once he reaches his goal of power, I think that would be a cool diffuser for the Civil War or something like that. Aside from whatever's going to happen with Blast, Blue, and Saitama. But if it's not them, then it very likely could just be Saitama, Peanut asks, hey, Shonen, do you think that Saitama could power through something like Jotaro's Time Stop and Giorno's Golden Experience Requiem? Since we saw him break through Phoenix Man's dimension, I'm sure he could do it for Time Stop, but GER, I'm not so sure. So this is an extremely controversial question, Peanut, but you knew that. And regardless of the answer I get, I'm going to get hate for this. So I'm like, darned if I do, darned if I don't, but I'm going to do it. So I think it's fair to say that Saitama is more physically powerful than both Jotaro and Giorno and Dio and all of them, right? I mean, if you think that he's not, that's fine, whatever. But that being said, considering, like we've established, he could bust through Phoenix Man's dimension, which really gave me way more insight into how powerful Saitama truly was, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to do the same thing to the magic of JoJo World, right? I mean, why is the JoJo World magic, supernatural dimension stuff more powerful than the One Punch Man world magic? It's like, I don't know. I mean, if I had to put money on it, I would say that Saitama could. But if you think that he couldn't, that's fine too. Peter Griffin 149 asks, Yo, Z, for my question this week, I'm wondering if you think there's going to be any more non-sentient monsters like the meteor or a natural disaster. This is an interesting question. I never really thought about that. I always assumed that the meteor was kind of just like a litmus test for Saitama and the viewers. There's also a possibility that it was conjured by somebody, but that's a video for another time. But, I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be like another meteor or like a tsunami or something like that. I mean, there could be, of course. I'm not saying it's completely out of the realm of possibility, but I just don't think it's likely. I think the closest that we're going to get to something like this is like evil natural water, things that are like kind of have sentience to them, or sentience but not self-aware. And we're also kind of getting that with Tatsumaki's current opponent, the aggregation, which just seems to be like a horde of insects or something. Proasek asks, Yo, sup, show money, show problems? How is it? Missed last week because I was busy getting hired to do some voice acting. Hey, that's awesome, Proasek. Are you any good? Let me hear your stuff. Panic at the Laboratory, someone whose name might rhyme with Kettlemite, experimented with swarm robotics and nanotechnology. And now the One Punch Man world is faced with a Grey Goo scenario. How does the Hero Association respond, and what are the odds the apocalypse is nigh, with or without Saitama? So this is pretty interesting. I didn't know about this Grey Goo scenario stuff until you said it, and I searched it up. Pretty interesting stuff. So if this were to happen, I think that Tatsumaki could probably take care of it. I mean, if it was left unattended for too long, then yeah, it's going to get out of the control of her, and then I guess Saitama would have to do like consecutive serious punches possibly to take care of it, but then the Earth is in danger at that point anyway. But before it gets out of control, I think the Hero Association would just send Tatsumaki, and I feel like her Esper powers would be enough to take care of this, right? I mean, like, if in theory her power is great enough to lift Z City, as per Murata, so take that for what you will, I don't see why she wouldn't be able to collect all of the gray goo and the nanobots and like compress them into like a diamond, or destroy them or whatever, or throw them into space or something. Q asks, "Hey Sean, I hope you're having a well day and have a good weekend. Here's 2 questions I thought of this week. If Endeavor went up against an opponent like Koketsu with backup from the sidekicks, who would come out victorious in your eyes?" So Koketsu is going to win like 9.9 out of 10 times. All he would really need is one punch to take down Endeavor and all of his sidekicks. The only way I see Endeavor winning this if he had somehow set up the perfect scenario where he's catching Koketsu off guard completely, and he has a prominence burn charged up on the ready, and he could sneak up on Koketsu and blow his head off. In that unlikely scenario, that's the only way I see Endeavor defeating him. Other than that, it'd be like man versus a baby or something. Do you think the mirror robot, Suiko's going up, is a possible G6 or connected to the organization? Absolutely. I fully believe that this is G6, and once the manga gets to this in 18 years or whatever, we will see this named G6 or Machine God G6, because G4 originally in the webcomic was called Machine God Zimzimov, or I don't know, whatever, like the G names that came with the manga. So yeah, absolutely connected to an organization, and it all ties into like Destro and Eraman, like, secretly puppeteering the Neo Heroes. They're kind of just sending out G6 because they're trying to collect data, along with all of the other monsters that they let out at that point. So absolutely. ThighsOfZeus asks, "Yo, Shonen, my first question this week. I wanted to know what the future of Hammerhead is in the story." So I never really thought about it. I just assumed that Hammerhead's time was over once we saw that he was like headed to his job interview or something. And I think one might have been asked in an interview, or Murata. One of them was asked, and they pretty much said that he just kind of went on to be a steady worker or something. So if he does come back into the story, maybe it'll just be for a cameo or something, or I don't know, maybe he does like one small significant moment like later towards the end, like maybe he saves someone and redeems himself possibly, but I don't think he's going to have any bigger part than that. If he becomes like one of God's Espada, that would be incredible and I would love it, but I just don't think it's going to happen. My first question, second question I wanted to ask, what do you think the S-Class hero roster will look like at the end of One Punch Man? So I'm thinking that eventually, like, once it gets far enough into the story, both the Neo Heroes and the Hero Association are going to crumble. And then whoever's left at that point, or whoever still wants to be a hero, is going to come together and then form, like, like a real Hero Association that's not, like, corrupt and everything. And then we're just going to see, like, whoever's left at that point. So I assume it's got to be, like, Child Emperor will be there. All of, like, the main characters who have been focused on at this point, non-ancillary, I think will be a part of that for sure at the end. So maybe Blue, I'm really unsure what his future is. A My Mask, unsure, because I don't know what's going to happen with him. In a perfect world, a My Mask can control his human and monster form again, and then they accept him as a hero, and then he's that awesome hero who can be a human and then transform into a monster. One of the aspects I've always wanted in this series. And then I think you're pretty spot on with Sonic too. I do think Sonic has a future as being a hero in this story or something like that. But Black S, no. Black S is definitely unredeemable. He will go down as a villain and likely die. VertGod24 asks, "Hey Sean, I hope you're doing well." Hey, I am VertGod. I hope you are too. As always, keep up the good work. Thank you. My first question is, do you think what's going to happen with Garo in the webcomic? Like, how will he fit into the story? We saw him once when King ran into him, but nothing happened. What do you think? So I think Garo is going to be on the back seat for a little bit. Like, we won't see him again until after the Neo Heroes arc is over, possibly. I mean, if he shows up before that, I would be surprised and happy, of course. More Garo, the better. But I think we're going to see him later on, and then he's just going to kind of be like that dude that's out there. Like the Punisher or something. Like an anti-hero who is pretty morally okay, and he's going to come and go and then defeat monsters and whatnot. He'll never be a full-blown hero, and I don't think he'll ever, like, truly side with them, but I do think we're going to see him working together with the heroes or Saitama at some point in the future. Water Bottle asks, hey Shona, not sure if you've seen Goblin Slayer, but my question today is if Goblin Slayer was put into the One Punch Man and became a hero, what class would he be in? So I didn't see Goblin Slayer, but I did look up his battle against the Goblin Champion on YouTube, and wow, that series is way more extreme than I thought it was going to be. But it really ultimately comes down to how strong you feel the Goblin Champion was. Like, do you think he was a high tiger or mid tiger? I don't think he was a demon. I mean, I think it's a little outrageous to say that he was a demon because he didn't really exhibit any kind of power like that. And granted, I have very limited knowledge of this series, so maybe he's disaster level god and I'm just being ignorant to that fact. But he seemed like at the most he could have been like a high tiger. So considering that the Goblin Slayer like super high diffed to take him down, he could be even an A-class hero at that point. So you're kind of, you know, in the right ballpark here with saying that he would be a B-class, taking on wolf threats, but and then some tigers. You know, it's pretty accurate here. So, you know, he could be high B-class, low A-class, somewhere around there. So that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 130 of my incredible patrons, guys. Thank you so much for continuing to support me. And if you would like to be in next week's Q&A, just simply check out the Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.